So when are you guys going to Miami?
So we're
이번 달에 플로리다 가긴 해요.
mm,
말이래.
he wants to see a soccer game in Miami for
Messi.
Messi. So we'll see if we can get down there. But I mean, you know
멀어요.
how my aunt and my cousin went in January to see him. So I thought maybe you went to the same game.
아니 이번에 저희만 가면은
네.
마이애미를 가면 돼요. 근데 이번에 가족들이 다 가요 부산에서. 그래서
약간
이제
성결례식으로.
네, 결혼식도 하고 이러려고 가는데 그러니까 미국 가족들이 나이가 있으셔가지고 비행기를 오래 못 타시니까 우리가 가겠다 이렇게 해서 가는데 이제 우리 마음대로 못 움직이니까 그러면 우리만 가면은 우리 마음대로 가면 되는데 가족들이 있으니까 가족들을 데리고 가야 되는데 또 가족들은 축구를 별로 안 좋아해요.
아 진짜요?
그리고 좀 멀잖아. 3-4시간 가야 되니까 올랜도에서. 그래서 뭐 해리포터나 뭐 디즈니월드나 이런 데 가려고.
유니버설 스튜디오가 좋긴
네,
해요.
그렇다 하더라고요.
So we have a limited amount of time in Florida with his whole family. So we're gonna do like the big things first: Disney, Universal, going and seeing NASA, and just chilling by the pool. But then we have an extra week with his mom and his sister, so maybe we'll do some other fun things. And the last 2 weeks is just us. So maybe we can go down to Miami when it's just us. But I don't know. I'm kind of scared to just go to Miami by myself, to be honest.
Why?
The last time I was in Miami, I was 14, 16, something like that.
Really?
And I was staying at a hotel in by Miami Beach, and when we went downstairs and we were walking on that main street, like the one that has all of the tourism and the restaurants and such, there was a guy walking around with a boa constrictor around his neck. And I loved it because, I mean, that's pretty cool. However, I learned that there are so many, pickpockets in that area nowadays. So if it's just us, I'm worried we'll be easy targets.
True.
So I have good memories, I saw a snake. I saw margaritas the size of fish bowls. However, I could lose my wallet now that I'm an adult. Back then I was just a kid amazed at the world, and now I'm oh, I have to be careful, serious. No. But he really wants to go, so I don't know. You didn't like Florida?
I mean, I liked it in some parts, but mostly, I don't know. There's no karaoke. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. When you're coming from a major, well, not even a major city in Korea, because even small cities in Korea will have a noraebang. But if you're coming from Korea, where the life is so central in the city and everything's within walking distance and everything is very easy to navigate, going to America where everything's so spread out, and
you need a car.
And even if you do live in the city, you don't want to be walking the entire city, Like here in Seoul, I can go to the sketchy areas of Seoul and still be pretty safe.
Right.
If I'm gonna go in the sketchy areas of Miami, I'm not gonna see you again, So there's a big difference.
So true.
There's a big difference.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing.
But I think if you're going from America to Korea, you're going to be wow, maybe overwhelmed at how much Korea is. But if you're going from Korea to America, you're going to be overwhelmed with different reasons and maybe not as good. You're not gonna like it as much. So I understand why you didn't really like it. But when he said, oh, she's from Miami and she was bored, I was like, what do you mean she was bored in Miami? Do you know how many bars and clubs and beaches and stuff? And then he was like, oh, well, she was there when she was middle school. Okay, now I understand.
Yeah, I wasn't alone. I was students, so it's very limited.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, my friends still went to club, but I don't.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah. I didn't go to clubs when I was in America either. I only came after I came to Korea, which is kind of strange. But I understand. The city life in America is very different than city life in Korea, unless you're in a city like New York or Los Angeles, and then it's kind of similar to Seoul.
Yeah.
Kind of. But
That's why, like, next time I go to America, I want to go to New York because the main campus is in New York. So.
Yeah. So are you
Maybe
thinking
New
of
York
doing
is
that?
better.
New York, honestly, New York, I would say, is 100 times better than Miami for someone from Korea. Like, if you grew up in Korea and you're going to school in America or you're moving to America, I would choose New York over Miami because of the community, the Korean community there. However, it's very expensive.
Sure.
Like, Miami's expensive, but I feel like New York is 10 times as expensive as Miami. So, unless you're commuting outside of New York, like if you're living outside New York and commuting in, but do you want to spend 3 hours on the subway? I did
Not
that
really.
here in Korea, and I don't even like that. No. I used to live in Hwageok, and then I had to commute to Sangam-dong, and then I had to do Hwageok to here in Gangdong, and then I had to do Gangdong to Gangnam, and like I was always on that freaking subway.
Terrible.
I mean, I got used to it. So now when I'm in the car in America and they're like, oh, it's an hour away, I'm like, oh, that's not bad. That's one side of Seoul to the other. That's nothing. And they're like, it's an hour car ride. I'm like, that's nothing. So it changes you. Korea changes you. There's a lot of Korean families that like are our subscribers that say they live in Florida, but I don't hear of many people that are either like single and living in Florida or they're young, like early 20s or going to college in Florida, because unless they've lived in America their whole lives and chose like a Florida school, because I don't think Florida is like very like, it's not what you think of when you're moving to America.
Right.
You would not move to Florida, especially if you're from overseas. So he's a little nervous. There's no community. There's not a lot of people that he can like. There's a small community about like 10-20 minutes from where we live, but they have all like lived there for generations, And then so people that have moved to Florida, like they themselves or their parents, they like got good jobs and they're living in good areas and not in like Miami or Jacksonville, big cities. Jacksonville actually has a really big Korean community.
Really?
They have a whole H Mart and Latte Mart up there.
Oh, I saw that.
And they have a Kyochon. I went there. That's how I knew Kyochon was there. He was like, there's no Korean chicken. I was like, there's a Kyochon. So there's one in all of like Florida. I'm like, if you live down in the Keys and you're craving some Korean chicken, you gotta make that yourself. Like, so we gotta learn how to make Korean food ourselves now. But
like what I did was going to Korean church because they have a community.
Yeah.
So it was pretty nice, but it's still like small community.
Yeah, it's like one of those like when you think small southern church communities, that's the Korean church, because it is just a little building and it's 100 people at most, you would think. It's a good number of people, but you have to separate it. Okay, husbands, the wives, the children, 100 people. You got maybe 30 men he can hang out with. That's it. You'll be fine. It will find you somebody.
That's a decent number.
That's a decent number. Yeah.
MBTI가 뭐였었죠?